Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Madrid Chess Festival, and welcome back to the Road to Grandmaster series. This is the 5th game at this tournament in Madrid. I have 2 wins and 2 draws. I'm playing the tournament of my life, and things are continuing in the 5th round. Some of you may have already seen the game because you have watched the live stream. I do have all the games broadcasting without commentary, but maybe there will be commentary in the future. Or in recaps by other chess grandmaster slash content creators. It's been very cool to see like a bunch of people watching my games and covering the games. But thank you for returning here and listening to my own thoughts, because I am surprising myself. So it is very, very cool. Patreon saw it first, by the way. And also participate in the Chess League Community Challenge. Do your daily tasks. Friendly reminder, it's morning right now in the US. So log in, do your daily tasks, and let's get to level 2 and unlock the reward. That's all I have. Okay, so going into this game, I had actually prepared my opening like 2 weeks prior. I was playing Cuban Grandmaster Lelis Stanley Martinez Dueñi. I'm just going to call him Lelis Martinez. And I saw he plays like various Indian defenses with c5, knight f6, g6. And because of his unpredictable repertoire, I just decided I'm going to go d4. He's probably going to go knight f6 because he doesn't play the, symmetrical stuff. And then I'm going to turn back the clock and I'm going to play bishop g5. I have played this opening a ton. This is the Trempowski. There's a Chess League course on the London and the Trempowski. That's not really why I played this, but I have a very nice win rate with this opening over the years. And I haven't played it in a while, and I kind of was like disillusioned with it because it's just very easy for black to equalize. I was really hoping that Lelis would play knight e4 or c5. Maybe if this was 6 or 7 years ago, he would. But modern times and engines have shown like you kind of want to stick to the basics. You kind of want to play just like d5, e6. And he doesn't get his typical King's Indian setup because I'm going to take damaging his structure. And this is not really what a King's Indian player likes to play. So he went d5 and then knight d7, which was a massive surprise to me. I was like, okay, this is like not what he plays at all. He does not play symmetrical queen's pawn stuff. So I thought, okay, phase 1 success. Get your grandmaster opponent out of what their typical comfort zone is, if that even exists for grandmasters. So then I played knight d2, and I'm going to build the pyramid. I'm going to play bishop d3. I spoke to a fan after the game outside of the chess club, and they said, oh, I saw you played a London. And I was like, don't insult me like that. The bishop is on g5. He played e6, bishop d3. He fought for the center. I played c3. Now black can focus on development, or black can play queen b6. He opted for queen b6, rook b1. So I just defend my pawn. I don't overcommit anything. And here I had a feeling he was going to play e5, and he did. So he wasted a little bit of time. He played e6 and then e5, whereas obviously he would like to go e5 in one go. But it's a great move. And, the point is that he would put his knight in the center. And if I try to do this, he's just going to take my bishop and have the bishop pair. And there's just absolutely no reason to give him the bishop pair. So I actually got what I wanted. Like, I was watching Hikaru's recap, and he said the opening hasn't gone well for me here, but this is exactly what I wanted. Like, I don't know if I'm the idiot, but I got us into a fight, and there's a lot of tension in the center, and he's overextending, but he's not playing on any sort of pre-existing knowledge. And my logic was, if he walls me in, I'm going to just fight back with my pawns. Like, I think at some point I just thought, I'm going to outlast him, and then I'm going to play e4. So he went here. I was spending a bit of time. I generally am a bit slower in the evening games. I'm just like tired, and if it's an unfamiliar position, I burn more time. I can make a lot of different improving moves here. I thought of playing bishop c2 so that this doesn't come with a tempo, which allows me to play f3 faster, or even c4. But ultimately, I thought a3 was useful because I'm trying to play b4. So I wasn't maybe the top line of the engine. It was actually even more useful to play h3, stopping any piece from going to the g4 square if I wanted to make any waiting move. But as it turns out, I played a3 with just a very clear idea. I wanted to play logical moves. My idea was to play b4. And I had decided that this now forces him to make a decision. If he takes everything in the center like this, then I get my knight here. I have a better position. If he takes once in the center and then I take and he goes here, I thought, well, I just rotate my play over here, and I didn't understand where any of his pieces were going. The computer thinks black is actually slightly better here, but I thought otherwise. I didn't think so. You know, even if a5, I just thought I take, queen a5, a4. Like, I thought his queenside is, like, not developed enough to play like this. Stockfish is stockfish. So that was a slightly inaccurate thought process on my part. I can also take with this pawn, and after e4, bishop c2, try to put something on e3 and try to put this knight on c5. But that looks a little bit stupid. And last but not least, if I get completely walled in, which was my intention all along, I was just going to play f3. And I thought, I mean, he cannot play like this. You can't just overextend like this massively in the opening. It just practically, from everything I think I understand about chess, it just doesn't make much sense. Now, of course, the engine is like disagreeing at times and whatever. But he went here, and I spent a long time here, and I didn't like retreating with the bishop because I thought he could maybe play e4, and then in some lines, you know, he can play knight g4, which is, yeah, wow, and the engine agrees with me. Knight g4 is nuts. It attacks the pawn, and if I take, now suddenly I will never get rid of the blockade of my center, which is super messed up. Now I'm just much worse. So it's good to see that I'm calculating correctly. My other idea was if this, I would go bishop g3, but then I thought he plays knight h7, f3, and f5, and I was like, wait a minute, like, okay, it's about equal, but I thought maybe this was a bit scary, but I decided to take. He has to take with the bishop, and here I had two ideas. Idea number one was blow open the position, which is what I opted for. Idea number two was really hilarious. I couldn't bring myself to play this because of how completely stupid this looked. Again, your opponent has bishops, you have knights, the position is very closed. So logically, you don't want to play e4. It just doesn't make sense to do this. Like, I'm going to open up his rook, his bishop, etc. But I think because my position is a bit more coordinated for a fight right now, I think the move e4 is possible. The alternative here was to play like bishop a4, which is such a stupid looking move. But the point is, I'm just literally going to take the knight. And then I'm going to take here, and this is the only opening that I, allow. And then I play like knight d4. So I saw this from a distance. It's knights versus bishops. But I had no idea what my next move was. I saw this, but I thought, okay, he can play like a5, a6. He can move his queen back. I don't know. I didn't see a plan. So I decided, okay, we're going to open up the position. Plus, I have to catch up on the clock. And I thought e4 would make him think for a little while because I don't like the fact that he has a 20-minute time advantage. Here I had calculated many, many things. First of all, if he takes on e4, it's just a bad move because I can take on c4 with tempo. I actually had a game like this against Daniel Naroditsky. I played a blitz game. It's on my channel. So he can't do that, right? So, okay, I thought I'm going to play e4. He probably has to take on d4. I'm going to take back. And now there's a lot of lines. So, first of all, one thing I had looked at here was what if he takes on e4? And I decided the best way for me to play here was to take this, queen c6, knight e3. I couldn't tell who was better here, if anybody is better. It's a very weird position. He's lagging in development, but he can, finish up his development. But then my plan was, I can push my pawn, but I thought even like bishop b3 and d5 is better. Okay, maybe I would have figured that out. But, like if bishop e6, I guess d5 is a fork now, so that doesn't really work, huh? Yeah, it's a tough position. I was thinking like queen d2, let's just say bishop d7, rook c1, something along these lines. And I thought, oh, this is kind of a pleasant position for white. My knights are strong. He doesn't have any targets. So that was one thing I looked at. And then I looked at bishop d4, ed5. And look at the time. Look at his clock. He spent 13 minutes here and then another 13 minutes on this move. So either he had missed this move, underestimated this move, I'm not really sure. Maybe he was looking for alternatives, but I calculated all of this, and here I saw that I can take on c4, take. Queen d4 is bad because he actually takes, and he doesn't take my pawn, but instead he forks me, which I just realized doesn't actually work because of rook e1, so maybe he does take my pawn on a3, and it's just equal. That's basically the point. The point is that if I take on c4, we trade all the pieces, and the game is equal. And I think he didn't like that. I think maybe he was just, he was annoyed. He was trying to get a fighting game, exciting back and forth game, and he didn't want to trade the pieces. But I had no intention to trade the pieces because from a distance, I had foreseen the following sequence of moves. If he plays knight e5, his bishop is trapped. It's completely trapped in my position. So knight e4, he has to go here. Then I would take, he would take, I would take, the bishop is hanging. Now, he can go bishop e5, or he can play bishop f5, which looks very dangerous. And what I had calculated was queen d4, knight d4, bishop e4, attacking both my pieces, rook c1, bishop here, knight b5. And I thought, okay, I have some tricks, but probably it's just a draw. Then I also was calculating, what if he takes on e4 with the bishop straight away? And yeah, the position is just equal. So when I was calculating, I said, okay, that's one plan. But another plan that I have is, in this position, I can play knight to g3, attacking the bishop and defending my knight. He goes here, and then I can play like queen f3, for example. Or rook d1, bishop e5, and queen f3, and I just maintain an extra pawn. Now, okay, will I win this position? I don't know, but I liked it. So when I played knight e4, I thought, okay, I'm in the driver's seat now. He has to play knight d3. And he went here. And my heart, like, absolutely sank. Because I didn't even see this was remotely possible. The idea of this move is he pins my knight to my queen, so I can't take with my knight, but I also can't take with my queen, because he takes my knight, attacking my rook and my queen. I have to take his queen, and he goes here, and he's going to win my pawn. So when he played bishop g4, the first thought that went through my head is, oh my god, I'm losing. Then I took a page out of the coach's playbook and said, we've had lessons with, actually in the very first lesson that I did, which is on Patreon, speaking of, Coach Nixon said, in a bunch of my games, one mistake is made, I enter panic mode. The second mistake is generally much worse than the first mistake. So I settled down here and I started calculating. The first thing I was calculating was rook e1. Okay? I looked at rook e1. He can take my knight, maybe. Also rook e1. He can play again knight to d3. I thought rook e1, the bishop is now officially stuck because I removed this idea. I'm now defending my knight with my rook, so I would take his queen and then I would take the bishop. So I thought rook e1, knight d3, bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes. Then he sacrifices the rook for the knight because my rook is here and no longer defending this. Then he's going to take on e1. Then I might take on g4. So I thought, okay, let's pause there. I don't know how that position looks. Looks about equal. Then I thought I was really smart because I can actually go here. My knight defends my knight. My queen is threatening to take the bishop. But I rejected this because of the following sequence. Bishop takes, knight takes, bishop f2. And out of nowhere, I'm losing. Rook f2, knight g4. It looks like this shouldn't work. I mean, it just looks like I can play, for example, queen d4. But this doesn't work. None of this works. Because after a queen d4, he can just take anyway. I can't take with the king or the king or queen or the king because he takes my knight. And if I go here, here, and king f2, he takes on a3. But even worse than that, he has this move. He has knight h3 check. He makes me ruin my structure, and then he gets into my position. My structure is terrible. Normally, a bishop and a knight is better than a rook, but not in that endgame. So I spent 20 minutes. I was looking, and then I thought maybe I play king h1, and I tried to play for f3. I thought maybe I play queen d2 to unpin my knight to threaten to take like this. Ultimately, I said, you know what? We're going to go back to that rook e1 idea. We're going to play this move. I'm happy. I settled down, and I'm fine. And yeah, it turns out that the second mistake was worse than the first mistake because this position is completely lost. But it's completely lost for a move that is beyond belief. It's probably like not findable. Hikaru in his recap said if you gave a super GM the position after 10 minutes, they might find it. But again, I think in the flow of a game, considering all eyes are now here, and I'm sort of forcing him to playing knight d3. He played knight d3 in like 2.5 minutes. There is not much else. I mean, he, of course, can take my knight, which was sort of another idea. The winning move is queen to g6, completely abandoning the bishop in the center, opening up an attack here, which doesn't even look like it works. I had seen these kinds of ideas, for example, bishop f3, but it just never works. But that's not the idea. The idea is that he is threatening to take the knight and then play knight f3, which is a fork because I can't take because the queen is pinning. And if I play, for example, knight g3, he takes my bishop, and then he's just winning. He plays knight d3, for example, and I can't do anything. Maybe here I can play knight c5 or something, but yeah, this move walks directly into this, completely gives up the bishop, and yet is a winning idea. So it's funny because I actually did make a second move that was a worse move than my first move. But psychologically, I thought I had solved all my problems, and we went to the endgame, which I had completely anticipated. I was going to put my rook on d1 while his bishop was hanging. He would have to escape, and I would try to push my pawn to d7. Mentally, I had prepared myself like, okay, I'm going to get my pawn to d7. His bishop is going to obviously have to play some level of defense. Maybe I cannot break through. Probably the game will end in a draw. So he went here. I thought already about pushing. This move looked really good, but I had a feeling it was incorrect because he still has to get out with his bishop. So I went rook d1, which I thought was a very kind of cool move, just like all of this going on. And the knight is always stopping checkmate like this. And I was very confident again. Unfortunately, I was down 17 minutes on the clock because of the previous, but I thought I had rallied. So mentally, I was doing very well because, again, I missed bishop g4, but I thought he can't do anything here. And, my pawn is going to get to the light squares. One important thing to mention, it was very important that I took the right bishop. So here, if I take here, he actually just goes back here. Not only is he blocking the pawn, but his rook is getting activated immediately. And on top of that, he has queen f2, and now queen f2 is a completely different story. So it was very important that I had a vision in mind for taking away the correct color and then pushing. So I took on g4, I played rook d1, and then I just played d6. I think the computer wants me to go queen c4, and yeah, in the endgame, I've talked about this with Coach as well in the lessons that I've uploaded. Centralizing in the endgame is very nice, and I actually did it a bit later. Centralizing gives you access to all parts of the board, but like, I have a pawn. I might as well push the pawn, right? Like, I might as well fulfill my plan. He went bishop c3. Again, I was thinking maybe queen c4, and then, queen c7, and yeah, probably I should have done this, or like at least queen d5, just centralizing. But I thought we were headed for the exact same type of position, which was this. And, again, I'm powerful on the light squares, but he can't bring his king over because I'm going to probably play queen h7 in some lines. So I was very happy, but I didn't see the exact, winning idea. And I was like, oh, queen e8 doesn't work because he's protecting his rook and he's obviously not going to take. But I realized something here. Because I was down on time, he didn't take a moment to appreciate how delicate the position is. So again, it seems like he's messing up. He's spiraling out of control. I now have all the momentum, despite it looked like he had the momentum previously. And I didn't realize I had a winning trick here either. Had he played something like queen c6, offering a trade, I was just going to play queen d3. And after bishop f6, knight f3, I was just going to try to figure it out. And maybe not knight f3, maybe knight h3. Like, maybe the right idea is to go there and then there. But I thought the pawn on d7 is simply too strong. And I would figure it out. Because now he's playing defense against my position. And he blundered. He played bishop f6, and as he was about to play bishop f6, I realized, wait a minute, of course this works. What am I talking about? It's not about the rook at all. It's about the fact that I win a pawn. That's why he needed to go queen c6 to stop queen e8 completely. But both of us had the same blind spot. Because before I wasn't going to play queen e8 because it doesn't accomplish anything, but I win a pawn. Now his king can never get close to the pawn. The only question now is, how do I actually win with this really weak back rank? So of course I'm thinking, I need to centralize. I need to, for example, I need to play, let's say, something like this. And then I need to get my knight out somehow, like knight e2, knight, and then go for it. But he went here. And I thought, oh man, I can't get to any of the magic squares. I can't get there. I can't get there. Like, what do I do? Okay, let's go hunt his pawns. Right, I'm trying to play quickly. I have 7 minutes on the clock. He plays a6. I played the next move queen c7. I said, okay, I need to get in. I need to make sure he can't really move his pieces. And this made him very uncomfortable. And he played b5. So the idea of b5 is that I can't move my pawns, But the drawback of b5 is now he can't move his pawns either, and all the squares behind the pawns are up for grabs. And I would just kind of say, in the endgame, you want to be really, really careful with your pawn moves. And I had that sense here, but I also was very annoyed because I can't move my pawns. And, you know, if he targets them, I'm not going to be able to defend them very easily. Not to mention, if we rush a trade, like I'll show you, I played knight f3 and he went queen c4, and I thought, oh, he's so smart, he's gonna get a pawn to, oh my god, and this is bad. But no, I was like, okay, queen d6, I don't understand the idea. Is he really gonna go for my pawns? And he did, and I have 4 minutes to figure this out, right? So I can't guard my pawn, because if I play rook d3, he just goes to my back rank. And I obviously can't trade the queens either, because if we trade queens, he's just gonna run. And if I play rook d6, he's gonna go here. And if I take on a6, he's going to go here. And, okay, I'm up a pawn, but this is just a drawn endgame. It's a drawn endgame because his bishop is much better than my knight. And I kind of sat there a bit deflated, and I was like, oh, man, I can't believe I allowed this. Like, I didn't know what I did wrong. I shouldn't have spent so much time. But I don't see anything besides queen d3, and I have 4 minutes. Like, I have to play a move. Okay, fine. Queen d3. Take. I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait a minute, he's losing. Because when he starts bringing his king, I don't go here. The hardest move in chess to spot is a backwards knight move. Knight to d2. He wants to go to my pawn. Why don't I go stop that? And if my pawn survives, of course, he's completely lost because his bishop can't even stop the pawn. So my knight just lives there. And suddenly I got this rush, like, what? This is unbelievable. My pressure paid off. He blundered, and he missed this winning idea. He plays bishop e7. It's very important I don't blunder here. I played knight c5. And again, for a second, I thought I made a mistake because of how quickly he was playing. He just made all these decisions so fast. I thought he was going to move his rook, and then the game would go on, but no, he took my knight, and I was like, what? Why would he allow me to have 2 pawns like this? I think he was trying to blockade them, so he thought that he came up with this idea, which is king e7, rook f8, and I was like, oh no, he's going to block both my pawns. Okay, maybe he's not going to take them because this pawn is always queening, but maybe I should bring, obviously I have to stop back rank checkmate. He's playing king d8. What do I do? Where's my win? And I calmed down with 2 minutes on the clock and was like, wait, I'm still winning. He wants to go king c7, right? So why don't I enable rook e8? He wants to move his rook, right? Why don't I stop that? So I just played rook e3. I played rook e3 and was like, wait a second. He has no moves. The only thing he can move is his pawns forward to me. Think about how cruel that is. The only moves he has are just shoving his pawns forward in my position until I capture them, or playing rook g8, rook h8 indefinitely, like rook g8. And the second the rook leaves, guess who's coming? My king. He could go to e2, go to g, it doesn't matter. Rook g8, king d3, he can't make any moves. I mean, it just literally walk into the position and kill the king. Like, it's crazy. So, of course, he went for counterplay. I went rook e5, and he went b4. Now, I can win in a variety of ways here, but I had calculated rook a5, of course. Then again, I realized, his plan is to play king c7, which is very tricky. So now if I try to be greedy, it's actually a draw, which is nuts. I have to start losing pawns to stop him. I was like, how do I win? Oh, I'm going to take, and now I'm going to figure it out. My original intention was to play rook a7, which is probably still winning, but it's not, because he goes rook d8, and he plays king to b6, which is crazy. It is so crazy. He can still draw the game here. I have to move, and this is a draw. He's too close to my pawn. I found a really nice move here. True to myself. Rook f5. Whenever there's a pawn, deep at the end like this, and you can always think of tactics that deflect the rook. If he takes my pawn, I take his rook. If he takes my rook, I promote. And worse than that, if he moves the rook, I have this. So one of my winning ideas here was rook f7. If he gives me a check, I would actually just come back, force his rook back there, because all pawn endgames are lost. Then I would freeze his rook on the last rank, and then I would just bring my king. This was one of the ways I wanted to win. He thought for a bit. He ultimately played rook b8, and I saw another idea, which is very sneaky. Of course, if he moves here, I'm just going to hunt the pawns, like rook g7. I was going to play rook g7 and just win everything, but I won in style. He went king c7, and I saw a very nice finish here, which is I promote. I probably could have promoted to a knight or a bishop or a rook, but I respected him, so I promoted to a queen. He resigned because when you have an outside pass pawn, you just win. Your king walks up. He needs like 5 moves to get to my pawn. I need 5 moves to get over here, and then he needs another like 6 moves to get... It's just not going to work. And he resigned, and I got to 4 out of 5. This game was a complete shock. The opening went my way. I don't really agree with Karu's assessment of the opening. But okay, he's not playing, so he doesn't know what my prep was or anything. I mean, my preparation was just like get a complicated game where he doesn't have a lot of experience because I'm trusting myself. And it worked. And then, yeah, the middle game was complicated. I thought I had caught him. And the lesson there was, it's not that I fell back into like old habits of just missing moves. I mean, it was a tough move. Bishop g4, queen g6 was beyond impossible, I think, at this level. But yeah, bishop g4 was really bad. And I just kind of had to like relax for a second, and I'm going to settle down and be more thorough with my calculation. It's very nice I have this rest today. Like normally I would be playing a game right now. So yeah, not going to do that again. That would be very bad. The next one will not go my way, you know? And then I settled down. I thought I played really well, putting my pawn on d7, this queen e8 idea that we both kind of didn't even see at first. Yeah, what more can I say? I mean, I have 4 out of 5. I'm gaining 25 rating points so far. I'm up to 2347, and my performance rating is 2713. So we'll see. To get a norm, I need 2.5 out of 4. So it's like absolutely not easy. I need to win 1 more game and make 3 draws. And if I don't win a game, I'm not gonna. But you need to be +4 in these tournaments, which means you have to win 4 more games than you lose. So if you lose a game, you need to win 5. If you lose 2, you need to win 6, which is like unheard of. It's just hard. People are very solid. So I'm now playing 4 Spaniards in a row. And they are all relatively young, I think 30 and under. And it's going to be fun. But so far, so good. Please participate in the Chess League Community Challenge. It ends in a couple of days. Just log in, do your daily tasks, try to get the reward. Everyone's in this together. We have like 12 million points. And yeah, keep watching. Appreciate y'all very much. Get out of here.